TA Hocus Pocus at it again, but what are the next targets? Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is a lovely Sunday over here from a actually kind of bright Helsinki, Finland. No sun still, but that's okay. It snowed once again yesterday, and it is oh so gorgeous outside. Anyways, with that said, I would like to wish you a more sincere, happy, and healthy start to your nice little Sunday. And with that said, let's get into the CrowdChain application, which can be found at app.crowdchain.net. It's 100% free, by the way. Lots of new devices coming up, which I am very, very excited about. So take advantage of that. And with that in mind, let's look at what's on the dashboard right now as we do see Bitcoin dominance heading up another percent from yesterday to today. So once again, we did see what we would have expected if we're in a rotational market with the bias that Bitcoin is actually leading that market, meaning that when Bitcoin takes a leg up, altcoins fall back in line. And when Bitcoin goes into a little bit of a sideways consolidation, altcoins get to join the party a bit. So with that in mind, we do see that once again, Bitcoin legging up towards that $58,000 target and altcoins not having the best day of all time during that time. However, it would be a good time to come back in today, check out the Bitcoin dominance, maybe you can check out a few Bitcoin Satoshi pairings, that is, and see kind of where we're at within that rotational sector. Kind of judge if the run is still good to go. Anyways, on top of that, we do see that fear and greed index stuck at a 91 once again. Oh my god, everyone's selling right now. This is crazy. This is insane. We got red dildos flying everywhere. Anyways, open interest also hanging out around 9 billion as well. Sorry, can't help myself, man. Yes, open interest hanging around 9 billion. So we didn't really see a humongous change from yesterday to today, although we do see that several things have actually changed over here on the top 10 coins, both best and worst. This one's just top 10 coins. This one's worst 10 coins. Great. It's fucking great, man. Does anyone remember Phantom from way back in the day, or Ren? Jesus Christ, or Zcash? God damn, man. Been at ages. Anyways, with that said, I actually am considering something that I maybe shouldn't bring up right now. Fuck it, I'll bring it up. I'm considering bringing back some of the live streams, although it would be quite different in the sense that I would, instead of be having like a 2-hour session, maybe like a 30 to 45 minute session. And I wouldn't really answer any comments. I just basically do the analysis live because I do think that sometimes, it is time sensitive, and if I can figure out a way to make it so that I don't have to update my settings in OBS every fucking time to go live on YouTube and Twitch, well, then that would be actually okay. With that said, into the market data tab we go, and let's see what we got going back on over here as we do see Bitcoin price action lifting off. Open interest has been more or less steady, though, so that is a little bit of a concern coming into this Sunday rally, but there is plenty more to discuss on top of that. So we're going to come back to this right now. This is not that is not a complete statement in the way that I kind of left that one. Yes, it is flat, but that is okay for not open interest, but the funding rate has come down significantly, which is very, 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 very good as Bitcoin does essentially crawl back up, into another breakout territory mode. We do see that FTX, Bybit, and Binance all above the 0.1 threshold, but because the average is well below, I don't think that is too problematic here. We see BitMexico right around 0.04. We see Huobi around 0.01. We see Femex is already 0.4, but I don't know how accurate that one is. Deribit 0.16. And I'm curious if I actually refresh this, if we get the same read, because sometimes it doesn't update when it should. Although I think it is okay now. Yeah, actually, yep. Okay, so that actually is 100% accurate. Okay, excellent. Well, with that in mind, I do still look at this as more or less constructive on the whole, because the funding rate has essentially come down alongside price action coming up on the whole. Of course, yes, we do have a few outliers here and there, but as you have seen over this past week, if you reference past videos, that there were, you can see it from the chart right here on the average, we are trending down right now as Bitcoin trends to the upside, which is rather interesting as it would suggest. Well, green dildo's back on the menu, boys, and boyos and girls, and girlos. Is there anything else that we want to check out here while we are here? We're seeing more or less the same things as what we saw before. Okay, this actually does stand out a little bit. The Bitcoin dominance chart, you can see that's really starting to level out. We did say last week that this was likely going to be a reversal point around the 60% region, and I and I think I'm going to be sticking with that as it appears on this chart right here. I need to see it on my regular charts first, but you can see that it is starting to, or it's trying to put in a higher low on the daily. So with that in mind, we're going to go to the actual secondary charts to start this one off. 3-day did close in a nice posturing once again last night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, this was more or less for formality, as we did say, but good to see it follow through as well, and does set in the bias for new all-time highs to come into probably this next week of trading. Remember that CMEs, of course, closed above their weekly trend band as well. So we are in trending mode right now, and of course, spot going to be closing later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So what would be the most important thing that is potentially happening the soonest? That would be spot right here, weekly closure tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, anywhere above the topside Toronto band, which for reference right now is 51,300, would indicate or would put in the bias, at least for myself and perhaps even other traders out there, for new all-time highs coming into this next week of trading, maybe even 2 weeks of trading. With that said, of course, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Blah 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 blah. Don't listen to people on the fucking internet about financial shit to begin with. Jesus Christ. I hope that this can only just be supplementally interesting, or maybe just even just stupidly entertaining as you rip my face off and plaster it all over the internet. Probably that's even better use of it. Anyways, looking at this right here, I do want to say that currently speaking, all momentum oscillators are not just indicating continuation. I mean, they're indicating like breakaway continuation here, as we do see MACD histogram continuing to increase. More importantly, we even have a higher high above the prior high, so momentum is increasing on top of momentum. That would also be considered good as it trends above the topside Toronto band. So momentum plus volatility plus, well, directional momentum right here, obviously giving you the bias as the DMI plus is very much dominant, has a nice positive erect slope as the ADX strengthens as well. All of this is very fucking good, and it would indicate that I am looking for new all-time highs towards probably the $60,000 plus region, which we'll get into soon enough. But I do now want to go to the 3-day? 3-day next tick. I mean, we're basically seeing continuation here. MACD histogram did increase. I want to see it make a new high above this January 7th high right here. Looks like it's very likely to happen, but overall, that would be well indicative that Bitcoin is going to go probably tag somewhere around about $62,000. And on top of that, we do see that DMI plus still not fully erect right there, although this is obviously a bullish posturing to begin with. So I am kind of grasping at straws there to find something to kind of counterweight my bullishness right now. But overall, yes, I am looking for further upside into this next week of price action. Extremely likely new all-time highs, probably around $60,000 plus. And in the short term, what should we talk about? Well, in the short term, we have obviously the weekly and the 2-day closing tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If the 2-day close above the topside Toronto band, which is obviously a lot more aggressive here, then yes, it would just imply that Bitcoin's going to make new all-time highs sooner rather than later, probably in these next 48 hours of trading rather than this next week of trading. Anyways, that level would be 56,400-ish, or sorry, 56,500-ish region. And not a fucking cent less, just around there is good. Anyways, momentum oscillator is more or less the same thing as the 3-day as well. Do we actually have new highs on this one? No, we don't. But still looking good regardless of that fact. And we do see that the daily is showing the topside Toronto band at wheres. That will be a natural resistance right around $59,000. That will naturally expand if Bitcoin does lift off once again here too. And with that all in mind, let's go over the last 24 hours of price action. So we did see our $58,000 target essentially hit. Yes, it didn't hit exactly $58,000, but that's because our target wasn't exactly $58,000 as well. It was something more around wherever the fucking what was it, the 2.618, I believe that was it. Where are you, sir? There you are, which was 57,900-ish region. Pretty damn close right there. And more importantly, yes, this was the reaction that you're looking for on that rejection, which did produce about a $3,000 move from 57.5 all the way down to our bottom side support right around $54,000. So I would look at that move as already played out. Now the question is, or the question that I'm guessing that's going to come up now is, was that it? Is the rally over, or is the sell-off over? Well, obviously that's why I started off with the higher term time frame biases. So yes, I do look at this as likely to reaccumulate here and make new all-time highs. I know it sounds fucking crazy. I know that this rally is really, 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 really aggressive and violent, and maybe you might even use the words like biblical on top of it. But I think that it can get even more crazy here, to be honest with you. If you want my more long-term analysis, I might brush up on it a little bit on this video, but definitely check out the latest video in the long-term analysis playlist. That's going to go over next macro market cycle tops and bottoms, and I put a lot of work into that one, so I don't want to keep on doing doing all these videos over here. But yes, looking at this right here, you did get the reaction that you're looking for. Consolidation at a high level above the 414 is really fucking good. We tested down to the 272. What I was postulating yesterday was more or less a range between the 272 and the 414 before trying to move towards the 618. This market's even more bullish than what I'm fucking considering in my most bullish highs, which I really do try to like kind of stay grounded in this, but getting more and more difficult as time goes on. And that's going to be one of the arts within this next within this next segment of the market cycle as we kind of enter into like we're in the twilight zone already, but like the critical twilight zone, if you will. Where it's like, okay, you have to kind of, you know that you have to keep your wits about you. You know that things are going to get crazier, but at some point things will turn around, and protection at that point is going to be of the utmost importance. Anyways, yes, so I do look at that move as essentially already played out. I still do look at these regions as having the same sort of interplay with price action as well. And with that in mind, we're going to go over here to our shorter term time frame charts, of which we can see that everything actually did line up pretty damn well on BitMexico specifically. We did see a move. Yeah, about 57,636. We nearly grazed this topside target, a few $100 away, but at these price points, I mean, that's not even a percent of a move, so fair enough. Anyways, with that in mind, let's see what momentum also is saying on the 4 hour right now. We do see, oh my God, bearish divergence. Yeah, but that's not good. That's not going to work out in that case. I mean, these are the ones that I just don't think are playable, because you get your confirmation of bearish divergence on your next dildo after the move's pretty much played out. Yeah, I don't play those. I don't think that you can play those. If you see the move down to the 21 in the same stab that you actually have the divergence, probably not going to work. Anyways, in this, for further moves to the downside, this one's still consolidated above even the lowest period moving averages right here is, well, quite good. Anyways, momentum on the 4 hour Stokes is going to be remaining the upside as long as above 56,500 actually, which Bitcoin's a clean $200 above right now with 2 hours and 9 minutes and 43 seconds left to go till closure. A lot can happen between now and then. 4 hour Jewel is a little bit concerning here, but this is not a sell signal. We do still see positive slopes on the pink and the white, which tells me that that is potentially setting up for a play into next week, maybe even after Bitcoin stabs in the $6,000 region, but not actionable right now. Certainly not actionable over the weekend. And if we go over here to CMEs, you can see that this is not even remotely close on CME. So I always default to CME in this case, especially over the weekend. And I would say that no, this potentially sets up for maybe later in this next week to come, but this is not going to play out as a signal, at least for this area right here, as we typically do say over the weekends. Anyways, historical volatility percentile still actually in an expansive position right here, coming out of the single digits, and that would imply within the current context of this trend more upside, if you fucking guessed it. On top of that, we do see that 4 hour RSI very constructive here. We actually do have a trend line coming in at this level for the short-term timeframes, so that does imply a little bit of short-term sideways and down. However, I would be looking for it to get picked up once again right at the edge of the bullish control zone and march its way upwards and onwards, potentially for another third drive of divergence, and that's when you're actually going to see a little bit of a move play out to the downside. But in this case right here, I should denote downside pivots. It's basically the same thing as yesterday, except once again we get to move them up. So how is that going to work? Well, this one right here is, I mean, that's relevant if you're trading on the very short-term time frames. I'm not going to cover this one right here because I think that one's going to happen too fast. This is where things actually do change. I'll say for the short-term time frames below 54,200. Is that it? 300? Yeah, 54,300. Or just taking out this wick to the downside. Likely is going to work out as continuation as well. If that does happen, I'd be by short-term bearish, looking for another $30,000 move to the downside to around 51,500 right here. Likely a short-term bounce there, and then this is where the medium-term timeframes come into play as well, meaning that if Bitcoin does break this on a 2 hour or 4 hour dildo closure below 51,000 bucks, that is, then I would be looking for another 3,000 to 4,000 move to the downside, somewhere around about 48,000 bucks. Very likely a bounce implied here. That's where things start to come into the long term. Now, this is kind of no man's land for me right here, below 44,000 or 45,000. Sorry, that's where I do turn on to long-term bearish, looking for another. At that point, I'd be targeting to move down to about 39,000 bucks, maybe even 40,000 bucks. So that would be a $5,000, $6,000 move, doing some bad mental math. And that would, well, potentially call into question the macro, well, maybe not the macro, but certainly the long-term time frame. So with all of that in mind, am I looking for any of that to happen like in the immediate future? No, or at least not the medium and long-term time frames. Short-term timeframes, yeah, they can get tested. Remember that CMEs did close the week on Friday at 55,500-ish region, so it certainly would not be out of the question to see Bitcoin spot price action hang around that level, not exactly on it, but around that level, heading into tonight's, into the time that opens back up tonight for CMEs at about 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. I need to take a sip of this water, man. I am damn thirsty right now. There we go. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tickle the bell. I can't believe people like. Sorry, I wanted to say that so I could like feel what it's like to say that. Feels weird, man. Feels really fucking weird. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's like, what? Or you could just like and subscribe if you fucking want to. How about that? Anyways. Okay, all right. So we went over all of this, yes. So short term, a little bit of sideways, maybe even a little bit of downside. Maybe does test back down to about 55,300-ish region in line with what we did see on CME closure on Friday. But ultimately, I'm looking for this to continue to expand to the upside, actually. And if you also do check out momentum oscillators on CME, we can see that it's actually in an upside posture in here too. So by the time that CME is open later tonight, I'd actually still be looking for this hidden bullish divergence to play out a little bit more towards the top side of the bullish control zone there before playing out a bit of a short-term pullback. You can see momentum oscillators are nice and well pointed northwards as well. However, it should be noted that they are kind of in critical territories right now. Not a death sentence in and of itself, but again, within the current context of expanding HVP, while trend is breaking out, while divergence is showing momentum to the upside, while momentum oscillators just remain to the upside in general, I am still biased towards new all-time highs coming into this week of trading. Maybe Bitcoin comes back down and tests 55,000, maybe even 51,000. I don't have strong opinions on that. I think it's completely fine, completely normal. It wouldn't set anything else off. Below there, things, some things changed, so we did denote, but ultimately, up and away, sir. Up and away is kind of where I'm looking towards. 3 hours, same shit. We do see, hey, get the fuck off this chart, although that is relevant but let's go over to the chart that's trading right now. and we can see that 3 hour Stokes, we actually do have this trend line coming in away from downtown over here. I think the same thing on the 4 hour here too. What time frame was that one for? Must be a different time frame. But yeah, basically same thing right there as well in that regression. At some point, it very likely does come back down to test this trend line, but as you can see, this trend line has been working all the way since late January on the breakout from this region out of the Elon Musk area, the Elon Musk reaccumulation, if you will. So with that in mind, I would be looking at that as well, likely another opportunity. Anyways, going into the 2 hour, what do we see right here? Or sorry, did we get through the 3 hour fully? We have the same do we have the same divergence present on the 3 hour? Actually, we do. Or maybe, hold on, is this even present on the 4 hour? It is, yes. Okay, so both the 3 hour and 4 hour are building potential hidden bullish divergence here. Where am I looking at that for? It's a little bit it's a little bit more obvious on the 3 hour just because the 4 hour doesn't have an obvious higher low right here. The 3 hour does potentially in place. Now, if this does confirm this current dildo that we're working on, that's going to be closing in 3 minutes and 46 seconds. So we'll actually see this one before the end of the video. If this closes, especially above, let's call it like 56,800, then I would be looking at this as a confirmed local low. That would imply that this has hidden bullish divergence between this point, and I would be looking for a retest of the current high, 57,600, and very likely new all-time highs into the $58,000 region and beyond. Of course, remember, our next, or I shouldn't say our next targets, but the next areas that I'm looking towards to the upside would essentially be these. The 6.2, well, Jesus, okay, that's a little bit too much. Would be this right here, the 3-spot extension right around $62,000. So take that as you will. That does kind of leave a lot of air between $58,000 and $62,000. I imagine there's going to be a little bit of psychological resistance right around here, right around the $60,000 territory. That's also, remember, in line with what we saw on the daily topside Trollender band for just, kind of like a natural resistance right around, a little bit above $59,000. So anywhere around there to $6,000, potentially a little bit of a short-term pullback. But as you typically do see with those psychological resistance, it's usually like a quick reaction, a quick response by the market, and then all good. All right, march on, baby. Because I really don't see anything else that suggests that 60,000 is kind of on anyone's main menu, besides those more short-term minded thingies. Anyways, Looking at this right here, let's see. So the 4 hour is not going to have hidden bullish divergence because I would not actually, I would actually not look at this as a higher low right here. We don't really have like an obvious stop and go point. However, the 3 hour certainly does, and I assume that the buy hourly already has it in there. Yes, it does. And by the way, the buy hourly already has confirmed hidden bullish divergence. 1-2 stabs, boom, back up. I'd be targeting a move, yes, towards the prior high and very likely beyond. I mean, this is trend continuation on expanding historical volatility percentile, which we're seeing bleed into the 3 hour and 4 hour now. And I'd be looking for at least buy hourly RSI to come back into the top side of the bullish control zone. We see the same sort of trend line going in here as well. Same shit. So you can see that everything is kind of like related to each other in a fractal nature, which is exactly what you want to see in this sort of case, as it does essentially, it's essentially extra confirmation, which is good. Confluence is good. Confirmation is good, and more divergences for the blue laws is also good, as we do see 1, 2, 3 drives of hidden bullish divergence on the hourly actually play out as well. So they're all building on top of each other. Momentum also turning up at the same time, playing out a similar trend line going all the way back from here, as you can see. And I do like that bouncing off the bottom side of the bullish control zone. So very, 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 very likely we even do see another try towards the high of today. I might even look at this. I might even look at this current signature that we have right now for like the last day and a half as a potential ascending triangle being put in place, something like this, if it does happen. So this would imply that Bitcoin does not break below its current 2 hour low. So if we are going to be on the fucking crack trader timeframes, I mean, it's 2 hours, not too bad. But if we are going to be looking at it like this is extremely experimental. So I'm going to show you like kind of a more aggressive style of trading here. I don't really do this one myself, but in these cases when the market's just doing its thing and traditional caution like kind of like goes out the window a little bit. You can see some of this stuff work a little bit better, but when we see divergences coming off the low right here, this is typically what you do see in a reaccumulation phase, aka in this case an ascending triangle. You want to see momentum oscillators suggesting some sort of divergences coming off your higher lows in this case, or lower highs in the case of a downtrend. Anyways, with that in mind, I would be looking at this as potentially going to wedge itself into an ascending triangle right here, which means that we actually can come up with a bit of a measured move for this next move. And I'm curious to see if it lines up with anything else as we do come up and potentially test the top side of that. So again, very experimental stuff right here, but what do you know? It actually does line up with that psychological resistance at about $6,000, which remember is also the top side on the daily Bollinger Band as well, which you will see a little bit of algo selling right there. Not humongous in my experience, but that coupled up with the psychological resistance and a little bit of profit taking off of the pattern traders right there for the short-term time frames, probably does produce a little bit of a downside move. However, again, I don't look at this as anything major. The next major level is $62,000. That's where you're going to see a little bit of algo selling, I would imagine. But for right now, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to go sideways, consolidate a little bit more, probably try to put another higher low, and then maybe try for some new all-time highs coming into early this next week of trading. Okay, so we got all the lower term time frames now. Let's go into the medium term time frames. Let's see what we got right here. 12 hour is continuing onwards and forwards. We did get that 1, 2, 3 drives of hidden bullish divergence right here. Again, I want to follow up on this, not because it's hindsight trading, but because we identified this hidden bullish divergence way the fuck back on over here, basically around Valentine's Day. And now you're just starting to see it really play off about a week later, right? We did say that there was a likely move based off of this into the edge of the bullish control zone. It's exactly what we got. And in fact, the strength that you're seeing right now is implying that it's going to go above the critical zone a little bit at least, and in that case, you can see that these things take some time and require a bit of patience, because that signature was being put in on this higher low at about 47,500. Bitcoin since then has rallied up more than 10,000 or about $10,000, right? So, and probably gonna go for more. So it takes as you can see about a week, but a lot of people get frustrated and like immediately will just get the fuck out. You have to keep in mind we're looking at price discovery right now. We're looking at a macro breakout onto new all-time highs plus momentum all cooked up to the fucking moons here. That's usually going to produce some pretty nice and impressive moves. Are you going to get a similar move when you're in a macro downtrend like you see in 2018? No, fuck no. So as always, keep an eye on the market, or keep the market cycle back in the back of your mind's eye, because that is actually rather helpful. Momentum will also remain to the upside as long as we're above 54,700. And let's go to the daily now. Daily's looking good, 52,900, the magical number for this one. And we do see that daily RSI is lifting off till the top of the to the top of the bullish control zone, as we said was likely last week. Yeah, on the same sort of triangular consolidation right here, broke on a new all-time highs, or sorry, broke on a new highs and new all-time highs actually on the 16th right here. That was your confirmation of continuation. So multiple ways to kind of get the same thing. But again, this is why I do go through all these different time frames, because they do have a nice relationship to each other and they should play with each other. And when they do, it does add confidence onto these sorts of things that you're seeing right now. Anyways, 2-day and 3-day both looking fine as well. I remember some people were expressing concern with the 2-day jewel. Sir, please watch the fucking videos, because if you see anything like this, that is not a signature, or that is not a signal in any way, shape, or form. God damn it. I don't know why it grinds my gears, but or maybe it's just more funny than anything. It's like what I found is that people will actually like buy indicators, not watch the fucking videos of them, and then think that they know how they work, and then comment on it. It's like, just watch the fucking videos, man. Just watch the fucking videos. It's always funny for me, at least a little bit. Anyways. All right. Okay, cool. So we got all of that. Let's see. This video is already about 24 minutes too long. Let's start to get into the other things. I said that I was going to talk about maybe some more long-term stuff today. Do we want to get into that? Or maybe I can point you towards this video. Maybe we'll do the initial sort of go at this one and make this video a little bit shorter on the other side. By the way, I do want to show that caretaker ranges showing the same $62,000 target to the upside. And showing the same support to the downside at 54.3 right as well. So caretaker actually getting that one pretty much perfectly from last night on the downside. To the upside, however, what about the 4-hour? Yep, showing 61.5 as well. That's going to push if you do see any sort of a lift, if you do see any sort of a bullish close on this next 4-hour, by the way, too. So yes, looking good here, and caretaker showing the way with a strong rising trend, as shown in the info box. Nicely done, sir. Nicely done. All right, so do we want to go over this? Fuck it, we'll go over this. Actually, first let's go over Bitcoin dominance really quick. Here's what this one's saying. And then we'll do this and call it a day. Okay, so Bitcoin dominance. What are we looking at right now? Yeah, I'd be looking at this one as trying to put in a low on the weekly here. This one very likely to shoot back up towards the mid to upper 60%. So I do think that altcoins on the whole are going to be getting a not so nice future. Looking at Ethereum right here, giving up its rally a little bit more on the weekly. Still not super problematic, although I do think that it has a little bit more down to go. I think yesterday we were looking for a potential move towards 3.3. Looks like we almost got it, but this is where things start to get dire. If you see any sort of closures below this level, below the 3.26 or wherever the 200 simple is, it's more like 3.28, then I'm going to start looking at this as another full retracement coming up, especially as Bitcoin kind of grinds its gears for another major potential move here. So yeah, all right, let's go talk about some fun bullshit over here. How about that? All right, cool. So let's get on the weekly. Was it this chart? No, I think it was over here. Yeah. All right. Well, first we need to start off like this. All right. We'll go through the whole fucking rigmarole. Okay, Bitcoin on the BLX index, the most long-running history for any Bitcoin chart that I'm currently aware of, and we can go all the way back to 2010, which I believe is the only chart that you can do this on. Anyways, with that said, we see a very specific signature here whenever Bitcoin does make new all-time highs on a weekly closing basis. We can go all the way back here when Bitcoin was literally trading 9 cents on the high, and anytime that Bitcoin has closed on a successful new all-time high on top of that on a weekly closure above its prior after a bit of a sideways and downside consolidation, well, you can see the results for yourself. This one closing on its first one right here, also increasing volume. By the way, this is at 9 cents if you happen to give a fuck, and that precipitated about a 455% move to the upside before another about a month and a half long consolidation to the downside, and then we get the same thing going on right here, close on new highs on the weekly, and then boosts off for another 220% move to the upside, not bad, before another month and a half, 2 months of sideways and down, and then close on new all-time highs right here, and pops up for another 3,100% gainer, not bad at all, before about a half year to a year sideways and down consolidation, close on new all-time highs right here, and that precipitates a 1,300+% move to the upside. Then about a few month long sideways and down phase before closing on new all-time highs right here, and that precipitates the next 660% move to the upside. Not bad, you might say, and that leads into the 2014-2015 bear market before closing on new all-time highs in late 2014, 2015, of which we do see that precipitate the whole run to $20,000 of about almost 2,000%, as you can see. Anyways, with that in mind, we once again do have Bitcoin breaking out to new all-time highs on a weekly right here. This was going all the way back in November, I believe. Yeah, or late November. And so far, we have seen about a 200% move. Now, if you do recall back to the past prior iterations of this, we have seen on the lower end about 220% was the lowest one that we've seen. So it's actually pretty damn close now. And on the upper end, we've seen about a 3,000% rally. So let's play around with percentages here to kind of get an idea of what that would look like on the current rally. So obviously, 220% again on the lower end would be very similar to where Bitcoin is right now, a little bit more, but because 20% on a number like this counts for a lot, that would be more like, well, $62,000. That's interesting now, isn't it? Anyways, on top of that, we do see on the upper end, we got even like 3,000%. So let's just get ready for this one. So on the upper end, for the outliers, we get about a 3,000% move. That would be all the way up here at about a $600,000 Bitcoin. Interesting. Anyways. In between there, we could kind of cut them to the middle, right? And that'd be somewhere around, 1,500%, I'd imagine. And where would that put Bitcoin, just playing around with numbers here? Somewhere around about $300,000. If we were to look at 1,000%, that would be Bitcoin at about $210,000. So we're talking about, around $250,000. If we were even go on a little bit more on the lower end, again, putting things in perspective, 600% rally would be $133,000 as well. So, based off historical iterations of this, we see on both the, if we get rid of both the highest and the lowest iterations, that would be the 220% and the 3,000%, we'd probably be coming up with an average around about 1,000%, right? And at 1,000% gain from our past prior all-time high, that would put Bitcoin, as you saw, at some pretty crazy numbers. Now, that is not super conclusive in and of itself. What we can do to further this is we can go over here to the BLX index and we can look at, or actually, before we do that, what we can do is we can just go to the pi indicator, and maybe I'll save the matrix for another time, or maybe I just don't talk about the matrix at all, and you can go check out the other video that goes into detail on it. Anyways, what we can do over here is look at I guess I have it on this chart too. Hey, that's actually convenient. All right, get off my face. There we go. And what we can look at right here as we take away all of our drawing tools is the pi cycle top indicator. So I want to give a shout out to two people here. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Nonrigo. Where is he? Where are you? I know you're here, sir. God damn it. Hey, where'd you go? There he is. Ninorigo. Good guy. He made this indicator, the pi cycle top indicator. I think that there's multiple of them. I don't know if he came up with the actual formula itself. I think the pi cycle is somewhat of a general formula. I don't think that any particular one person owns it, like most math formulas actually. Anyways, the pi cycle Bitcoin top indicator he made, which as you can see would just be the green and the orange lines right here, and it's basically just two moving averages with a nice cool formula. And ever since they had enough time to actually populate themselves in 2013, they have actually called the Bitcoin high to the T by about a give or take of about four days at most from signal given to next high put in. You can backtest this yourself, starting off with this one right here. Now the signal was given for the actual crossover at about 134. Now Bitcoin did eventually rally up 1, 2, 3, 4 days, making this new all-time high on the 5th day actually. And significantly higher, by the way, too. I mean, we're talking about a pretty big move here, about 100% move from that signal given to the next high, but it basically gave you a timing of that next high. And then, by the way, do not pay attention to these long signals here. They are not going to be good, or very unlikely to be good, I should say. Anyways, we can go to the next market cycle in end of 2013, beginning of 2014 right here. This one actually does get the ultimate, or this one does get not the ultimate high. It actually tells you 1, 2, 3, 4 days after it, pretty damn close to the prior all-time high. So again, timing it, around that sector, it's giving you a big warning signal. And then what do you know? Back in 2017 on our next macro cycle high, what do we see? We see that it actually does give the signal about 1, 2 days. Yeah, about 2 days before the ultimate high is put in. And in this case, we do see a pretty substantial move here as well. We're talking about a 13% move, not as much as a 100% move as we saw on the other one, but I do think that is rather interesting. Anyways, so looking at that, we can kind of get a timing indication potentially when the next high is going to be in. or at least looking at this to kind of give some sort of indication of that. Now, what lovely caretaker has done is he's gone in and put in a reverse function on this formula, meaning that it will tell us the price that is needed in order to cross these two, which does create that, well, as you know, as you've seen, those macro cycle changes. And again, I should also measure these out too. Keep in mind, these are all phenomenal moves. I mean, we're talking like 80% move right there. We're talking from top to bottom, 86% move right there. We're talking from, once again, top to bottom in 2017, we're talking about 84% move. I mean, these are fucking big. Anyways, so caretaker made a reverse function on this. That's going to be represented by the light blue line. That's going to show what price would be needed in order to cross if Bitcoin meets. So you can see that it drops off extremely sharply once it does lead into the all-time high. And what I wanted to note now is that there is essentially a percent threshold that level will get to before it becomes almost inevitable that the high is going to be put in pretty much. So ideally, in a healthy long-term upwards market, you want the reverse level to be as far away from price action as possible, because that means that it's just, not very likely to happen, right? This over here is literally like basically 100% away from it. It's 99.82% away from it. And yes, I do measure from top to bottom in this case because I think it's just more standardized. Anyways, you can see over here on the lowest before the next melt up phase, that was still 98.75% away. So in no way, shape, or form close. Now, once you get about over here, let's see, it'd be right here on that lower low. And price actions right there, about 80% away. I'd say that's your major warning signal. Now, I'll show you some other information that, might suggest a little bit lower than that, but 80% is kind of like the big warning signal. And then below there is like critical. As you can see, as it goes lower and lower, I mean, the high gets closer and closer to getting put in. Anyways, we can go to the next market cycle right here, right? And what do you know? The reverse function stays far as fuck away from it, 98.5% for the majority of this time. And then right around here, we do see, even this is like 93%. So I got a lot of messages. Hey man, you're measuring it wrong. No, actually I'm not. You just don't know what the fuck you're looking at. Sorry. I have to be a little bit more direct there because sometimes it's just true. Anyways, yes, then it starts coming down pretty damn aggressively. Now, keep in mind, high is getting put in around here. So let's see what it looks like about 2 days before that, 80%. Very, very interesting, right? Very fucking interesting. Anyways, next one after that, we do see the 2017 historic rally and, well, stays fucking far away for the majority of its life. We're talking, 98% right there. See, even on that low right there, it's like 94.5%. And then once it really starts getting going, and and this one's even like a week before at this point, this is about 73%. So warning signal is telling you around 80%, which I guess would be like right around here. No, that's even 76%. About half a week to a week before the end of the rally, it gets below that 80% threshold. And then aggressively, cross it, and well, the rest is history, I suppose. Anyways, let's look at what its relationship is in the current cycle. Is this rally in any danger of coming under pressure right here, right now? Well, guess where the fucking reverse function is? Oh, that's weird. Actually, this is actually very interesting. By the way, the last time that we looked at this last week, basically 7 days ago, this was in the millions, by the way. This was in, I think, like 1.1 million. Now it's at about 900,000. So it is aggressively coming down, by the way. However, to put in perspective, let's see what the percentage looks like right now. Or, God damn it, hey, give me my damn percentage. 93.5%. So it's not even out of the 90s just yet. And I really don't get concerned until it's about 80% away. Now, we can actually obviously forecast that because there's only so many variables here, right? So if we actually look at this from current posturing down, let's call it 80%. I mean, you can just mentally do this one. It's gonna be around about $200,000. You can see, about $182,000 right there. That would be your 80%. But remember, I mean, it's really around like 75% where the actual high gets put in. 80% is more like a red flag, and 75% would be right here, 220,000. So very, very interesting as we do see that number come up in multiple waves now. Anyways, With that said, you can see that there, it's not really in danger of crossing anytime soon. These moving averages are going to start chase each other, but that also means that we're going to enter into this next parabolic phase on Bitcoin land. And it's not until we essentially see the momentum start to wane on top of that where, these sorts of things will naturally occur, obviously, because we're looking at fucking moving averages right here. They need to increase their momentum over time, otherwise they will inevitably cross. Duh. Okay, anyways, with that said, what we can do is we can go back on, we can just throw on our babies right here. I'm going to get rid of this for now and throw on this, and I'll bring you into the matrix for a little bit. Okay, so here, welcome to the matrix, sir. This is this is what you do if you're a complete TA nerd and you have no life like me. You look at shit like this. And so what I've done here is I've plotted all of these dotted trend lines for all of the parabolic market cycles in Bitcoin's history, denoting their support. And you'll notice something very interesting about them, very likely. Start off with this one anchored in 2010 and basically end of 2010 right here. And that trend line gets broken after acting as support throughout that whole cycle, and becomes the parabolic market cycle highs of your next cycle in 2011 and later on in 2011 right here. And then that creates another support trend line for this next parabolic market cycle anchored in 2011 and 2012 right here. And that gets broken in early 2012. It's anchored in it's anchored in end of 2010 and in November 2011. That gets broken right here in February 2012. It becomes the next parabolic market cycle highs of the 2013 and 2014 cycle right here. Not perfectly, of course, but pretty damn in line. You can kind of get an idea of it. And of course, very, very small changes in its degree is going to create like humongous changes over time. So I'm not doing these perfectly, but around there is good enough, at least for these purposes, on a very experimental thing to begin with. Then we create another support trend line for the next parabolic market cycle anchored in 2012 and 2013. That gets broken right here in the 2015 cycle after that reversal, and this trend line becomes the next parabolic market cycle highs of your 2017-2018 cycle right here, before Bitcoin reverses once again, creates another support trend line for this next parabolic market cycle anchored in the prior years, and that's actually represented by this blue trend line right here. And as you can see, that is actually currently speaking, it's actually kind of close to price action here. Let's actually until you do this, and then you realize that it's currently at about $65,000 and it's rapidly rising like a fucking phoenix. And even if we look at the x-axis down here, we can see that even in June, so what is that, 3 months away from now, that'll be rising up all the way almost to about $90,000. Yeah, about $90,000. Let's see where $200,000 would be, just out of curiosity, if we actually do hit a target like that. That would be in March of 2022. Very fucking interesting. And again, this cyan trend line is not perfect here. If I even got it a few degrees wrong, which I'm sure that I did, then that could be account for like much higher prices or much lower prices. But still, you can kind of get an idea. Just if we can even just get a fucking regression in there, we can kind of come up with somewhat of a range here over time. So once we do get into the $200,000 region, which would be somewhat, historically speaking, it wouldn't be too out of the question, as we did see. That would start to suggest a time frame of about a year from now, actually, about a year from now. So with that in mind, I do think that is, worth discussing if you're a more long-term investor and interested in those sorts of things. Now, I want to bring up one other thing here too. You're going to see that there's all these Fibonacci retracements, extensions as well. And what I'm showing there is actually something that I think is even more interesting and that I even put more weight on. And that is this. Not only can we look at potentially the next market cycle high, we can also look at the next potential market cycle low. Rather interesting, right? And let's go over this really quickly. We need to go all the way back to the genesis right here. All the way back to the beginning. We'll bring this up. Come on, you fuck. There we go. All right, so remember when we went over the weekly closing on new all-time highs. I guess we can just do the weekly right here. Yeah, the weekly closing on new all-time highs for the BLX index, right? So what I did was I simply just put a Fibonacci, technically a Fibonacci retracement with extensions on the other side for those sections on all of the new weekly closure, on all the weekly new closing highs. Did I actually do this on this one over here too? I guess not. No, damn. Well, we can just do it over here, actually. I think that would be a good thing to do. It'll also make a little more sense on this chart as well. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing right here. We're going to take a fib retracement. We're going to do it from high to low right there, get the extensions, and Sorry, let me actually get it right. There we go. And you can see that the 4.236, where is that? That's actually right at the next mark cycle, or the next situational, or not situational, but the next section low. Then we get another one, right? We get another one right here, and we can do it like this. And whoops, I need to actually fucking get it right, which would be good. Okay, there we go. And let's actually get it on the closure right there. Oh, and what do you know? The 4.236 calls the next low of the next cycle. That's rather interesting. Anyways, I don't want to go through this whole fucking thing, so we need to go back on over here and we do the next thing right here. The 4.236 comes in at this low. Very interesting. Then we do the same thing on this section right here. The 4.236 comes in at this low. Very fucking interesting. Then we do the same thing on this next cycle. Jesus fucking Christ. This one right here. And what do you know? The 4.236 is at 3,500. That's interesting because I remember that the low in 2019 was in the low 3,000s. Anyways, we can do the same thing for the current market segment that we're in, from the $20,000 high to the low $3,000 low, and the 4.236 would be populated where? $70,000. So is that potentially the next macro cycle low? Potentially, yes. Although, look, this information right here that I'm going over right now, this is like clickbait bullshit. Do I really believe in this? I think that there's an error. It's not that I believe in it. It's just, this is information. This is fucking data. You can use it for yourself. You cannot use it for yourself. Am I using it to kind of judge my long-term? No, not really. Not really. But I do think that it's interesting when you kind of bring up the most bullish cases for Bitcoin, also kind of comparing like market cap to gold, for example. Gold has a market cap of like somewhere between like 8 and 10 trillion. Bitcoin just hit like 1 trillion. And, if Bitcoin's going to get into like gold space, then 10x from these levels, not all that crazy when you think about it like that, because gold's not even, it's not even really that like well regarded in a lot of cases. That's a whole nother conversation for another time. Anyways, my point is that I'm trying to make is that this is just data. This is just information. I'm not saying that this is going to happen 100%. I'm just making some YouTube clickbait bullshit. So take what you will, take what you don't want, and decide for yourself at the end of the day. You are more capable to make decisions for yourself, and that's the best thing to do for yourself as well, because then your successes are your own and your failures are also your own. But at least you can be in charge, and with that comes responsibility, obviously. But with responsibility comes great power, or whatever the fuck the Spider-Man saying is. Anyways, I think I'm gonna leave it off right there. I want to wish you well on this one. It's been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy the Bitcoin market, and I'll see you soon.